Welcome and welcome back, everybody, to the OK Grognard Show. It is Monday, June 28th, 2021, 10 a.m. Central, in beautiful Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. And we are continuing with our look at the Advanced Dungeons & Dragons Fantasy Adventure module, the Dungeon Master's Adventure Log from 1980. This is part 3. There's a lot in this little 10 pages. A lot of tables, a lot of good stuff, and we'll continue looking at those today. DMG stuff. Let's look at this. Yeah, there it is. I knew we had something right. Something right, something wrong, something borrowed, something new. What? I forget how that goes. I don't think it matters. Anywho, let's jump right in and talk about more of this stuff. So we left off just as we were looking at this. Do I have it all there? I guess I want to do this. Yeah, right. There we go. Let's move it over just a little. I think we got out of alignment there. Shoved me in a corner. We left off at this encounter reactions table. Remember, and you know what? We'll just do a quick recap. Go to the top. There's the product. 1980. TSR Hobbies Incorporated. The Game Wizards. The back of the product looks like this, which gives you a rundown of a bunch of other available items from TSR and also shows you what the log actually looks like. These are full pages made smaller to fit them both on the back of the product so you could have a look at it. And taking a quick look inside, I'm going to jump up one. There you have on the back page, again, a little bit smaller. You could print them out this way, but you want a lot of these sheets, and you really only need one and maybe the occasional replacement of this other sheet. So you print out one of these, you write it all up, you keep it handy, you print out one of these, each adventure. And those are pretty straightforward. There's a bunch of tables. We'll get back to those. A quick look at the two sheets. Character number, so you number the characters so it's easy to denote them elsewhere. Player name, character name, class and level, race and sex, alignment, special abilities, magical items or personal abilities, some notes there, combat adjustments, armor, class and type, and hit points, all the most useful information for each character on each line. And then you print out these for each adventure, a marching order, which you jot down. You can have it be single file, double file. You've got enough here to spread it out and stuff. Light sources for those that need them and want them and have them. Can say number 1, who we denoted on the other page, has a torch. Number 3 has a bullseye lantern. Number 5 has a hooded lantern, and then those numbers are in here so you can see where those light sources are within the marching order. Put down some numbers here for monster names, different encounters, hit dice, hit points, armor class, movement, attacks and defenses, and then damage done to them over the course of an encounter with them. You can create a bunch of encounters in advance or just mark down the most important information you need from encounters that are already preset in, say, an adventure or module that you're running. Down in the bottom left, number, type, and treasure. So you can use this number for this monster, throw it down here, what treasure type, and then mark in what the treasure is. You can do this for each of these encounters. It can say none if there is no treasure. Unusual events, you mark down a few things that happen. So-and-so talked to the bard of such and such a place and learned this or that. So-and-so went before the king and disgraced himself when he wet his pants. You know, things like that that are important to remember for adventures to be shared later in a blog or... Oh no, maybe you don't share that one. Anyway, those are all sorts of things that you put on these sheets here. Also in this product, as you can see, how to use this product. We went over all of this, breakdowns, abbreviations you might use to speed up note taking, and also how to use each section. We kind of just went over that as a recap. In here, you've got then also in this product a bunch of sheets that expand the information that you might have on a Dungeon Master's screen. So combat modifiers here, um, to hit modifiers, and not just the usual ones. Protection from evil, you've got Holy Word, you've got opponent partially immobile, opponent invisible, a lot of like corner case stuff, but it's all right there on this sheet. Damage modifiers, armor class modifiers, large missiles coming at you, flank attack, things like that. Missile fire, what about concealment and cover? Do these things help out? Oh, of course they do. They give you all sorts of crazy pluses. That's why we carry the big shield, my friend. Hit point modifiers. So if you've got some spell that is changing your hit points, rage is on here. Moderate intoxication. They back in the day, they always thought intoxication was going to be a thing in games. I don't know why they thought their core demographic, probably teenage boys, would be wanting to constantly have their people go into bars and get drunk. But let's switch this to scrolling so we can do a quick thing. Combat tables, the progression, we talked about natural 20s needing those typical inhabitants of different locations. We went into that. Surprise, avoiding encounters, which is a thing that people don't tend to do often enough these days, I think. And then we dropped off with this encounter reactions, where we'll pick up right now. Going into that, it says, any intelligent creature which can be conversed with will react in some way to the character that is speaking. Reaction is determined by rolling percentile dice, adjusting the score for charisma, and applicable loyalty adjustment as if the creature were a henchman of the character speaking, and the modified score of the percentile dice is compared to the table below. So this is just, at first glance, you run into somebody who is capable of forming opinion. So we ran into some giant centipedes yesterday. You're not going to get an encounter reaction from them except bitey, bitey, bitey. This is a reaction from an intelligent being with which you can possibly converse, hailing them, and what do they do? Well, on those percentage dice, 1 or less to 5. So, if you have a really low charisma and failed some sort of other reaction roll, then it can definitely go down. Violently hostile, immediate attack, and check the asterisk there, or morale check if appropriate. So, a couple of kobolds and you got a party of 10, they're not going to violently attack, they're going to run immediately. 6 to 25, hostile, immediate action, again, or morale check. 26 to 45, uncertain, but 55% prone toward negative. So that is to say, and this is interesting here, because this could be read a couple of ways, and I'm not sure exactly how to do that. So 45, up to 45 here, 55 and above, prone toward negative. Is that just saying it's a mostly negative reaction from everybody? Or is it saying 55% of the group that you're encountering is prone toward a negative reaction? Interesting. 46 to 55, neutral, uninterested, uncertain, different potential reactions. 56 to 75, uncertain, but 55% prone toward positive. Okay. I think leaning. I think in a lot of cases with these tables, they're not just cut and dry. You like to allow role playing to have some effect on what's going on. So You do a little bit of role playing, and then you take another reaction roll and you see if it improves. And maybe you add a little percentile based on the fact that they've made a decent first impression or made a fairly negative first impression. So maybe that has something to do with that. 76 to 95, friendly, immediate reaction. 96 to 100 or greater, enthusiastically friendly, immediate acceptance. So we may spend another episode of the show somewhere down the line just talking about initial reactions in encounters and ways things can be played out and advice on how to do that. Encounter distance, a lot of DMs just ballpark this based on the terrain. If you can't be seen from 100 yards because you're in a deep, thick forest, then maybe that's just not going to happen. When encounter occurs, this distance between concerned parties will be 50 feet to 100 feet, a d6 plus 4, subject to the following modifying factors. Line of sight, if this is unobstructed and light is present, the distance possible for determination of another party present is virtually several miles. It could, likewise, be sharply restricted due to obstructions, as we were just saying. Noise. If one party is making considerable noise, which is discernible by the other party, the latter will have the options of fleeing or seeking concealment, the former negating the encounter, the latter allowing distance to be 10 feet to 40 feet before discovery by the noisy party. So, whenever you can call your players out if you're DMing on excessive noise that the player characters are making, and make sure that there's some distinction there. If the players are just screwing around and joking out of game, that's not noise within the party. If they're having an argument about what their characters should do, that is indeed something that the characters are having an argument about. How else does that transpire? So use that as a basis for potential noise making by the group of player characters. Number 3, actual area. If the encountered party is in a small area, distance between the two can be no greater than the maximum distance possible for discovery of the one by the other, i.e. opening a door into a 20 by 20 room will mean the distance between the two parties can be under 10 feet. 10 feet or thereabouts, 20 feet if they're pressed up against the far wall, so to speak. Number 4, planned or unplanned appearance. The sudden precipitation of one party upon the other due to any number of factors, such as teleportation, dimension door, other magical means, a chute. Somebody drops down a chute and winds up on a lower level of a dungeon, for instance, and they slide right into a group of monsters. Well, that encounter can be point blank, right? Well, this will cause distance similar to that found in actual area is a factor. So if they fall into a hallway, they fall into a big old cavern, something could be as far away as the other side of the cavern, or in a hallway or a cave entrance to that cavern. Number 5, surprise. Surprise can only be a factor in close encounter situations if either or both parties are surprised. The distance must be either 10 to 30 feet or it must be less as determined under actual area modifier. Thus, if the actual area were a 40 by 60 foot room, the surprise exists, the distance between the parties will be 10 to 30 feet. Light. The illumination factor or visual capability of the concerned parties will affect the encounter distance as follows. A light source. A light source reliance limits the encounter distance to twice the normal vision radius of the party, 2 times the radius of the light source, which is to say the actual area that they have the full light, and then some dim area that it spreads out beyond that initial area. And then B, infravision or ultravision operate only to the stated limit of their range and limit encounter distance accordingly. So somebody with infravision out of doors even or indoors can only have an encounter distance of up to that range. Seems pretty self-explanatory, but it's worth detailing it in that regard, right? Detection of invisibility table or invisible table. Level or hit dice of creatures. 7 plus. Intelligence. Ability rating. So creatures that are more intelligence and higher level, or people that are, will have a better percentage chance of noticing somebody who's invisible or figuring out where they are by footprints in this flower or a curtain getting moved even by being pushed, or maybe some air current. How you doing? Thanks for stopping by. You give unintelligent creatures with keen hearing or a sense of smell the equivalent of intelligence to reflect detection of invisible creatures. Then we got listening at doors. We went over this one before, and these percentages are indeed in the DMG, so you can find them there, but here they are here as well. Experience point value of monsters. This is a basic table from the DMG. It's probably one of the most useful tables at the end of each session. It's good to add this stuff up right away, too, by the way. Some people always talk about never playing, never wrapping up their sessions on time, so they rush to get away, and then they say, well, I'll work up the experience and give it to you next time, and then next time comes pretty fast. Next thing you know, you're already playing, and there you are. Revelator 2209 says hello. New to D&D, just popping in to hopefully learn something. Well, we're going over a, let's see if we can bring it about real quick. We're looking at a Dungeon Master's Adventure log from 1980. We're going over some of the tables within. So this is a fairly specific video, but there should be some things of interest in here, possibly. Experience points, certainly. If you're fighting a bunch of kobolds, less than a hit die, base value 5, 1 extra point per hit point that each one has. If you add this stuff up all right away when you're done a game session, you're better off in making notes, even if you don't hand it out because you want to double check it. If you don't hand it out right away, it's worth adding it up right away because time will get away from you. Treat peasants and levies as 1-1, men at arms as 1-1 to 1, and all levels as the N+1 hit dice category. Typical special abilities, because you've got this special ability XP bonus, an exceptional ability XP bonus. Let's read about those in the asterisk footnotes. Typical special abilities, 4 or more attacks per round, missile discharge, armor class 0 or lower, special attacks, blood drain, hug, crush, special defenses, regeneration, hit by only special or magical weapons, high intelligence, which actually affects combat, use of minor, basically defensive spells, and then exceptional abilities include energy level drain, paralysis, poison, major breath weapon, magic resistance, spell use, swallowing whole, weakness, attacks causing maximum damage greater than 24 singly, 30 doubly, 36 trebly, and 42 in all combinations possible in one round. So somebody's got multiple attacks and they can do up to this sort of damage. Consider it exceptional. I like that poison and paralysis are in here because even low level, oops, that's on the next table, even low level creatures like ghouls or centipedes like we were fighting yesterday, which have very few hit points, but an exceptional ability gives them extra XP because that can kill you pretty fast. A real quick note at the bottom regarding that table: judicious application of these guidelines will assume that an equitable total number of experience points are given for slaying any given monster. Special ability bonus awards should be cumulative, i.e. a gargoyle attacks 4 times per round. And oops, let's go back to here. There we go. A gargoyle attacks 4 times per round and can be hit only by magic weapons, so double special XP bonus should be awarded. Likewise, if there are multiple exceptional abilities, the award should reflect this. If an otherwise weak creature has an extraordinary ability, multiply the award by 2, 4, 8, or even 10 times or more. Because don't forget, centipedes are weak, they're poisonous, but if there's 4 or 5 of them, well, each one of them's got to give you that extra poison XP bonus because they could all kill you under the worst circumstances. Magical aging causes casting alter reality spell, casting gate spell, limited wish spell. How many years does each one of these gives? 3, 5, 1, 2, 3 years for a resurrection spell, 2 for restoration, 3 for a wish spell, 1 year for imbibing a speed potion. Under a haste spell, you're adding a year. Some people throw those haste spells around fairly often when they get to higher levels to give them huge advantages in combat as a group. And fair enough to do that, but let's be clear, those years add up pretty fast. Hiring non-player characters to cast spells or use devices. This is interesting. This will be a little more campaign specific because some campaigns that are lower level based might not have that many people around, NPCs of higher levels or NPCs with enough of a willingness to risk themselves to use devices to try them out so that you can figure out what they are, or to cast spells for you. It may not be high enough level. It is a certainty that your players will seek outside aid many times during the course of your campaign. At times, a particular spell or device able to deliver a magical power will be necessary or very helpful to a party, and so they will seek out a cleric or magic user to hire for the service. The most common spells sought are various cure spells and informational spells. The players should know from the outset that there is no free lunch anywhere, and that the performance of any service is going to cost a reasonable sum. A few sample prices for spells are listed below. Note that these charges are based on the assumption that the characters requesting the services are of the same religion and alignment of the cleric, and that the request is made at the cleric's headquarters. So you got to know these people, they often say, right? Let's go right down to Cure Light Wounds. 100 for a first level Cure Light Wound spell. 350 for a third level Cure Serious Wounds. 600 for a Cure Critical Wounds. So a lot of these, Astral Spell, 5,000 per person. Some of these get into some crazy high costs. I found, as far as the several lower levels are concerned, I generally just ballpark it at 100 for first level, 200 for second level, 400 for third level, 800 for fourth level, and then we kind of go on spell by spell basis. It just makes it easy for people to have a sort of a understanding of the costs involved before they go and ask. And it helps not to waste a lot of time at the game table when that is precious if you have some sort of policies in place. Um, it's not to say that these will always be available, but if somebody has an idea in advance, then you don't go through all the rigmarole of searching someone out and getting there only to find out that it's well beyond your means or more than you want to pay. And now I've just spent a half hour of game time finding a place, finding a person, asking them a price, and now what? Now I can't use it. So prices can be adjusted for faithful lower level characters. Likewise, then they can be upped a bit for those who are not regular attendees of services. If the caster is expected to travel any distance but not at risk, factors will be as much as doubled. If at any risk, hey there, Sarah, how you doing today? The cleric is likely to refuse or charge 5 times or more times the rate shown. Attack spells are not shown in order to discourage hiring of spellcasters for such purposes. As a general rule, no specially hired spellcaster will even accompany a party on an adventure of any sort, except in circumstances planned and directed by the dungeon master. So you don't want to have a lot of high-level spellcasters doing all the work for you, do you, Sarah? That's a little gets out of hand like yesterday when you've got a cleric who has a high level what? High level magic user and a high level druid in their employ. That's a triple threat. That's pretty dangerous. Let's also say this, though. If you. I had a campaign most recently where the player characters as a party became attached to a temple. They got better rates on healing, but a lot of what they were doing was at the behest of the temple, in that they were clearing out a series of towers, and those towers were being bequeathed to the temple as places where they could set up additional shrines and temples in relation to their own. So there are ways of setting these things up so that they make sense in game. Well, you know what? The clock on the wall says we've got to leave that alone. We can come back to this again, of course, because there is another page that includes some stuff on becoming lost and whatnot. We'll deal with that next time. I do want to say thanks to everybody. Life saving is okay by me. Yeah, well, the neutralized poison came off a scroll that my actual cleric had, so that wasn't really taking advantage of NPCs, but I suppose the hold portal and the wizard locks, things like that. Animal summoning, we used that through the druid. So, not offensive spells, so maybe the letter of the rule I just read isn't violated. End of show questions. Well, remember, if multiple things poison you, do you take multiple poison damages? And does a Medusa make your clothes stone too? And if so, why, how? What do you think about if you think about adjusting prices? Okay, first question. Multiple poisons, if they're the same type of poison, then I just let it be one spell takes care of it all. You know, um, if you drink a bottle of poison, if the bottle's twice as big, isn't it the same poison? So doesn't a neutralized poison neutralize all of whatever's in you? That's how I do that myself. Um, does a Medusa make your clothes stone too? Yeah. Yeah, everything on you turns to stone. Equipment, I don't know how they decided on that at one point, but it's kind of the traditional trope in mythology, so I guess it's based on that. Um, what else? The what do you think about? Oh, what do you think about if you're thinking about adjusting prices? Uh, I think in ways of uh, I think about just having it progress so that there's some sort of multiple, but I like there not to just be straight cumulative, but more of an exponential progression when it comes to prices as far as spells casting is concerned. So there you go. But listen, I'm just beyond the time, so I'm going to say thank you very much to everybody who has popped in today. And I will also say thank you to everybody who pops in and follows the channel. And if you do, please do. And if you do follow the channel, also thanks for chiming in on the chat when you do. No, I still don't. Haven't done it in a long time. Just makes you sleepy. Maybe someday when I get old and have a lot more pain, I'll need something to quell that a bit. Monday and Thursday is when we do the show, live streaming 10 a.m. Central here on the OK Grognard Show. Mark underscore CMG Twitch TV channel. So be sure to come back and check us out if you can't catch up with us on YouTube. And when you're there, please do subscribe to the channel. Click the little bell so you get notifications of when we are uploading new episodes. Please give a thumbs up to any videos you watch and enjoy, and also feel free to leave comments if you have some constructive criticism or you just want to join in the conversation. It's very much appreciated. Thank you very much. Once again, this has been the OK Grognard Show from beautiful Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. Bye-bye.